Right. We have been discussing about in advanced level literature class, the poetry section, we discussed about William Blake. I explained you why William Blake can be identified as a very much important poet when it comes to romantic movement, because when it comes to romantic movement, we saw some kind of distinct features of romantic poets. Most of them wrote about the beauty of nature. Most of them had their own experiences when it comes to the writing. So they always wanted to escape from the reality. Now, the first poem we discussed under the category of romantic poets, the poem by William Wordsworth, To a Snowdrop. By referring to a snowdrop, the flower, we identified what kind of message is actually presented by this particular poet. So almost all the poets who represented the romantic era, both first generation and second generation, including John Keats, William Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, if you take all these poets, we can clearly understand one of the distinct features of these poets, they always wanted to write about nature, the beauty of nature, the grandeur of nature. But when it comes to William Blake, he is a different character. Why William Blake can be identified as a different character? Because William Blake is an eye-opener. William Blake is a radical poet. When all the other poets, they give up writing about these social realities, when all the other poets, when they escaped from the reality, William Blake is the only character who wrote about the reality. Whatever the problems occurred at industrial England because of industrialization, prostitution, child exploitation, unemployment, corruption, neglection, all these problems he took into account. So William Blake wrote not only about the beauty of the environment, at the same time, he wrote about the realities that he identified in the society, certain problems that people faced in the society. So this is why William Blake is known as a radical poet. So you have to understand, even though William Blake represented the romantic era, he is special. Why? When all the other poets wrote about different types of beauty, different types of grandeur of nature, William Blake is the only poet who wrote about the reality of life, who wrote about the problems of people. That is why he is known to be a seminal figure when it comes to romantic poetry. The poem that we have from William Blake is The Chimney Sweepers. Last week, I explained you the first stanza. I will send you the recording today, right? And today we have to start with the second stanza. But before going to this poem, I have to give you a simple explanation about William Blake's writings. Now, when it comes to William Blake, actually, as I have told you, as you can see here on the screen, William Blake's poems can be divided into two forms. They can be identified as songs of innocence and songs of experience. What do you mean by this? Now, this is actually a book written by him. This is a poetry book written by William Blake, including songs of innocence and songs of experience. Songs of innocence can be identified as whatever the writings that he had when it comes to a child's perspective. A child's perspective refers to the person is not exposed to the environment. The person is not exposed to the society. So he is not corrupted. She is not corrupted. No wrong, false social values have influenced this particular boy or girl. That is why it is known to be the child's perspective. When we come to the songs of experience, most of the poems written under this category, there we can find out these poems are actually written by William Blake from the perspective of an adult. This particular adult is totally different from a child. What is the reason? This particular adult is exposed to the society. He knows what is good. He knows what is bad. He knows how to behave in the society. He knows the process of socialization. So whatever the poems written under the category of songs of experience, you have to understand they are written in an adult's perspective. An adult is a person who has got a lot of experience about the outside world. So when you are referring to this poem, you have to refer to this poem from an adult perspective. The particular poem that we have in the syllabus is actually The Chimney Sweeper. Now, this particular poem is written under the category of songs of innocence, right? Songs of innocence means the problem is actually taken into consideration with a child's perspective. Did you understand? From a child's perspective refers to child is taken as a character who is not spoiled by society, right? who doesn't know the good and evil, who doesn't have any idea about social influences, who has not socialized properly to the society. So that immaculate nature of a child can be clearly identified when it comes to the songs of innocence. But songs of experience, that type of poems you have to read from an adult's perspective, who has received enough experience about the society, who has received enough influence about the society, and who has learned a lot about the society. This is what you have to understand. So we have to start actually from stanza number 2. We actually wrote all these stuff, right? So today we are going to start from stanza number 2. In stanza number 1, we discussed about the chimney sweepers, and I explained you what kind of job that they have to do as chimney sweepers, because children were taken as a burden, not as an asset, not like nowadays. During the Victorian period, during that Victorian England, industrialization took place at that time period. So today we have Children's Day, we have children's rights, we have human rights, we have a lot, right? Today most of the parents, they give their best for their children. But during the Victorian era, the situation was totally different, right? Children were taken as a burden. Children were not taken as an asset. So proper education was not given to them, right? They were used to do different types of unlawful jobs. If you read Charles Dickens' Great Expectations or Oliver Twist, you will understand what kind of environment that children were exposed, right? So they were used as robbers. They were used to do certain odd jobs. One of these odd jobs is actually sweeping these chimneys, right? So they have to work as chimney sweepers. So that is what in the very first stanza the boy explained. I don't know, my father actually sold me to someone. My mother actually died when I was born, so I don't know anything about my mother. And my lifestyle, today my lifestyle, I perform by cleaning your chimneys. So the small boy is asking the audience to check, come and see my lifestyle. This is the suffocation that I have. I am sweeping your chimneys. Those chimneys are belong to you. Because of you only, I am in this particular state, right? I am sweeping your chimneys, right? So let's pay our attention to that line, right? Can you see this, right? So this is the first stanza where he say, where we can understand where he says, so your chimneys I sweep. Because of you only I am here. You refers to, my dear children, because of the society. So you can understand William Blake is criticizing the Victorian society, right? Because of these people only, children had to face this kind of terrible circumstances. That is why the child says, so your chimneys I sweep, in suit I sleep. Because of the society, because of you only, I am in this particular state, right? So try to understand, the society is corrupted. So that is why we say William Blake is a radical poet. Can you understand why William Blake is a radical poet? William Blake, without having any second thoughts, criticized the things that should have been criticized, right? So without having any second thoughts, he did that. That is why we say William Blake is a very powerful poet, or else an eye-opener, or else a criticizer, real criticizer, right? So then the poet is actually paying attention towards another character, right? There is little Tom Dacre who cried when his head that curled like a lamb's back was shaved. So I said, hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head's bare, you know that the suit cannot spoil your white hair. So we have a very beautiful rhyming here if you pay your attention, right? We can find a very powerful rhyming as well, right? If you pay your attention, you can find out that here we have hair, and where hair is actually rhyming with bear, right? So hair and bear, said and head, right? We have a very beautiful rhyming scheme as well. So let's try to identify now that chimney sweeper is giving the idea about other chimney sweepers. Now the perspective has been changed, right? Now the perspective has been changed. Now he explains about other chimney sweepers. He explained about other chimney sweepers. What kind of state that they belong to, what kind of problems that they face, right? So I found another person. What is the person's name? Tom Dacre is the boy's name. He is another chimney sweeper. So he came to this clan as a new boy, right? Another small boy actually joined to the same occupation. Now he is doing the same occupation, right? Another boy, he is a newcomer. So as a newcomer, what is the first thing that they did? Because he is a newcomer, they actually shaved his hair, right? That curled hair was actually shaved. Why did they shave the hair? Because it will be very much easier for them. Because when these small kids are actually going through the chimneys, the entire body will be black color, right? So when they have golden color hair, that will be a problem. So when you shave the hair, it will be very easy to clean. At the same time, it will be very easy to identify them. So you can understand the negative phenomenon, right? First and foremost, the hair will be shaved off. What is the reason? Because that will be very much easier for them to wash their heads. At the same time, then definitely they can identify, yeah, okay, he is a chimney sweeper, right? So the Tom cried. Tom was really upset. The Tom cried because they are shaving my hair. But the this particular person, the chimney sweeper, is trying to console his friend. He is telling that, Tom, there is no point of crying. There is no point of crying. Don't cry. They have shaved your hair, right? They have shaved your hair, but don't cry. There is no point of crying. This is our fate. We all have to face this. Whether we like it or not, we all have to face this. Can you understand? That is the idea, right? That was the idea given. We all have to face this. We are chimney sweepers. There is no point of having golden color hair, right? At the end of the day, your hair will be black color. So it is much more better. Now itself, they have shaved your hair. You should be happy. So that particular person is going to console this particular character called Tom Dacre, right? So he says, you know that the suit cannot spoil your white hair, right? Now itself, they have removed your hair, so it is better. Why? Now, when you go inside the chimney, the suit which is there inside the chimney cannot spoil your hair because they have removed your hair. So the identity of this particular child is completely changed. This is the Victorian society. This is industrialization. These are the social problems discussed by William Blake as an eye-opener, as a radical poet. Did you understand? So the second stanza, the poet is explaining about another boy who joined to this chimney sweepers gang. His name is Tom Dacre. So he didn't have any first-hand experience. So first and foremost, they asked him to shave his hair off, the golden hair or else the white color hair. What is the reason? Then it will be very much easier to identify him. At the same time, when a lot of suit is there on the white hair, it will be a problem. So they shaved off it, right? They shaved it off. Then he can be recognized very quickly. At the same time, my dear students, you can understand how the particular narrator is going to console this particular boy. The Tom Dacre is totally upset because they have shaved his hair. But this particular narrator says, Tom, don't be upset. This is the reality of life. We all are working as chimney sweepers. You are also facing the same adversity, right? So don't get upset. Besides, you should be happy because now nobody will notice that your hair is full of soot because they have removed or else they have shaved your hair. I hope you can understand, right? Okay, let's go to the explanation. I hope you guys can see the screen. The second stanza introduces the poem's key character other than the speaker himself, Tom Dacre. The stanza recounts what happens when Tom implied to be a new recruit. He is a new recruit. What do you mean by new recruit? He is a newcomer. He is a newcomer. He joined to the clan now. He is going to be a chimney sweeper. Now, the narrator is a very much experienced person, but Tom Dacre is not. So the narrator is going to show the reality of these chimney sweepers, what kind of troubles and tribunals that they are going to face. This is why William Blake is known to be a social reformer. That is why William Blake is known to be a radical poet. That is why William Blake is known to be an eye-opener. He openly criticized certain institutions, certain organizations, such as the parliament, such as the church, such as the legislature, such as the executive. He openly criticized, when all the other romantic poets, they did not do that. They wrote about the beauty of nature. They wrote about their personal problems. They wanted to escape from the reality. But William Blake did not do that. William Blake wrote about the beauty of the environment. There is no doubt about that. If you take poems like The Echoing Green to The Evening Star by William Blake, very nice poems. They explain about the beauty and grandeur of nature. But if you take certain poems like Chimney Sweepers, London, so you can clearly understand how he explained the problems and the negativities of industrialization, right? That is why he is known as a radical poet, right? So we will move on from there. The adjective little emphasizes his youthfulness and powerlessness. Can you remember the adjective? We have an adjective here, right? There is little Tom. Can you see this adjective, right? This is important. See the adjective. You can circle that. See the adjective. There is a little Tom. What do you mean by little? Right? What does this suggest? Adjective little emphasizes his youthfulness and powerlessness. To further underline Tom's innocence, right? So the word little shows us the youthfulness and the powerlessness, right? So the word little clearly shows us youthfulness and powerlessness. These two are very much important. To further underline Tom's innocence, the speaker compares his pre-shaven head to a lamb's back through a simile. Pre-shaven head. That head is actually clearly compared to a lamb's back. Now, the word lamb is also very much important because there is a very popular poem written by William Blake about the lamb. Written by William Blake about the lamb. At the same time, lambs were taken as innocent Christians according to the Bible. According to the Bible, Jesus is known to be the shepherd. Jesus is known to be the shepherd, and innocent Christians, Catholics, are known to be the lambs. Right? So we are asking from our leader. Who is our leader? The shepherd, to take care of us. So the poem Lamb clearly suggests that idea. At the same time, the animal lamb symbolically suggests the Christian flavor, or else the Christianity, right? The innocence is clearly symbolized there with the word lamb, right? Blake often treats the lamb as a symbol of innocence, as I have told you, because of its small size and vulnerability. What do you mean by vulnerability? Vulnerability refers to can be killed, can be faced to any danger at any time. What do you mean by vulnerability? Can be faced, can be subjected to any danger at any time. That is what we call vulnerability. That word is very much important, right? The shaving of Tom's hair symbolically shears him of his innocence, casting him to the grim and exploitative world of chimney sweeping. Now, the remove of his hair, or else shaving his hair, is very much symbolical, right? It is a symbol that his innocence, that his beauty, that his nature is completely changed into exploitativeness. Now he is moving to the industrial world. He used to be an innocent boy. That is why this particular poem comes under the category of songs of innocence, not under the songs of experience. I told you, because this particular boy, Tom, is a small boy. He saw the world from his own perspective. Throughout the poem, we can see that the poet tries to explain the world from the chimney sweeper's perspective. These chimney sweepers are not adults, they are kids, but they had to go through this transformation. Even though they are kids, even though they were kids, they were not given that happiness. They were not given that childhood. They were not given that freedom. Now, as an example, Tom Dacre, he did not like to shave his hair. But he had to face that because he didn't have any alternative. Shaving his hair is a clear symbol how this innocent individual has been transformed into that exploitative world. It's a very powerful symbol, very powerful symbol. So now you can understand the second stanza. Very powerful second stanza. We discussed about chimney sweepers, advanced level English literature, poetry. This is the second poem in our syllabus. Hurry up and write down. Please pass me a message. Vijayanta Puta, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear
Can you understand the idea behind this?
Yes, sir. I can manage.
What about Lakisha Puta? Can you understand? Lakisha, can you hear me? Right, okay, very good. Now, in the first stanza, we discussed about the narrator. Narrator is a chimney sweeper. So the narrator explains about his suffocative situation. When he was born, his mother died. So he didn't know who is his mother. So this symbolically suggests sometimes his mother, right? Sometimes his mother may be a prostitute. Because at that time period, most of the women, they did not have anything to do. So most of them, they sold their body. So that is what we call prostitution at that time period during the industrialization, right? So that is what they did because of the unemployment, right? A lot of people who lived in the villages, they came to London. So London was overpopulated. As a result of that, what happened? People did not have jobs to do. Can you understand? So as a result of that, unemployment became a huge problem. So most of the women, they did not have anything to do. So what they did? They became prostitutes, right? So as a result of that, what is the result? A lot of children came to this world without parents. They don't know the names of their parents, right? So that is why the chimney sweeper says, my father sold me. So in the very first stanza, you can realize my father sold me, right? So they sold children. Do you think that children are kind of an object to sell? Like sugar, like tea, right? Like what you call TVs, fans and radios, can we sell children? Now you can understand in the Victorian society, during the industrialization, they sold children. So now you can understand children were taken as a burden, not as an asset. Right? At that time period, they didn't have children's day. They didn't have children's rights. They didn't have anything like that. They saw children as a burden, as a problem, because they eat a lot, but they don't do a lot of work. Children, they eat a lot, but they didn't do a lot of work. So children were taken as a burden. So that is what the chimney sweeper says. So because of you only I am here, your chimneys only I clean. So because of the society only I was born. Can you understand? Because of the society only I was born. Your chimneys only I am going to clean, right? So all over my body, your suit will be there. I am a product of this industrialization. I am a product of this exploitation. That is what the poet says. These children, they did not come to this world as chimney sweepers. They did not come to this world as chimney sweepers. Can you understand? The society made them. The society made them. They did not come to this world as chimney sweepers. No murderers are created in the world. When a baby was born, we never name that baby, you are a murderer. No child will say that one day I want to become a murderer. I want to become a criminal. Right? No baby will say that. Who make them? Society makes them. Kanjipani Imran, Madush, Ma Kadure Madush, right? Angoda Lokka, they were not born. They were not born. Society made them. Because of the problems of the society, they were made, right? So the society should be responsible. That is the idea given by William Blake. These chimney sweepers, society only made them. Can you understand? Society only made them. That is why he says, your suit only I am going to clean. So you are the ones who made me, right? So that's okay, that's fine. Because of you only I am here. I am a product of this industrialization. I am a product of this industrialization. That is the first stanza. Now today we started the second stanza where a new character is actually introduced to us, Tom Dacre. Tom Dacre is a newcomer to this particular profession. So the narrator is a well-experienced boy. So he says, they have shaved your head, right? They have shaved your hair. Don't get upset. Now you can work really hard. Why? Now there is no golden color hair or white color hair on your head to recognize that, okay, all over your hair, suit can be seen. No. Now you don't have hair at all, so you can work. Don't get upset. You should be happy with that. This is the first step of molding to the new culture, new tradition, new social transformation. from innocence to corruption. From innocence to corruption, right? The shaving of the head clearly shows us how this innocence is converted into exploitative behavior, right? I hope you can understand. Vijayanta, can you understand, Puta?
Yes, sir.
Lakisha, can you survive? I can't hear you. Did you finish, Lakisha? Shall we move on to the next part? Vijayanta Puta, did you finish?
Okay, sir.
Right, okay. Right. Here the speaker uses his experience as a chimney sweeper to try and comfort little Tom Dacre. Here, the speaker is using his experience. Now, as I told you, he's a very experienced person. He's the one who associated with this, right, at first. He's a very experienced person. Can you understand? Now, he's trying to console this small boy because he's a newcomer. He's a new recruit, right? He's a newcomer. Who is that newcomer? Tom Dacre, right? He tells the new boy not to worry about losing his hair. Right? He tells the new boy not to worry about losing his hair because at least now the suit can't spoil it, right? Now, don't be unhappy about your hair because at least now the suit will not spoil your hair because you have shaved your hair, so nothing will happen to you, right? Don't get upset. Right, so we will move on from there. The poem is full of tension here, right? On the one hand, the speaker is being sincere and empathetic indeed. The horrors of his and Tom's situation are no fault of his own, right? So this is important, right? So on the one hand, the speaker is very much sincere. The speaker shows so much of love towards Tom Dacre because Tom Dacre is a small boy. Now he has already experienced this as an adult, but Tom Dacre is a small boy. So he had some kind of sincere. At the same time, he was empathetic, right? He thought about the sadness of that boy, but at the same time, he has also undergone with the same changes, right? So this is empathy. Empathy means I have also undergone with the same experience. And when another person is undergoing the same experience, I can understand that. That is what we can understand. Right. The horrors of his and Tom's situation are no fault of his own. Now, this is something very much important, as I told you. Remember, these chimney sweepers can be identified as a product of industrialization. Product of industrialization, right? None of them wanted to become chimney sweepers, no, Puta? None of them wanted to become chimney sweepers. Can you understand? They can be identified as products of the society. This is what you have to pay your attention. Hurry up and write down. We are still in the second stanza. Hurry up, my dear students. Right, shall we move on, Puta? Lakisha, did you write then and there? Finish it off. You can refer to the recording. I have sent you the recording of the both videos. Chimney Sweepers 1, Chimney Sweepers 2. This is the third video log, right? So you can always refer to the recordings, but make sure to finish your notes then and there. Then it will be very much easier for you to go through, right? We will have to have another date as well. After this O-level examination, I will have another date because we have to start drama as well, right? So most probably you will have 3 classes per week. So refer to the recordings because we have a lot of work to do. We have to complete a lot of work. So we have to start drama, Othello. We have to start that part as well. So I will put you another class. So basically we have classes separately, novel a separate class, and we have poetry on a separate date, and we have drama on a separate date, right? Because we have 2 huge dramas to discuss. So I will have another class. Most of the time it will be an evening time period. So let's see what we can do, right? Okay. However, the speaker's words in line 7 and 8 foreshadow how religion is used later in the poem to get the boys to accept hardship and suffering. So here, my dear students, you have to understand William Blake as a poet clearly criticizes religion, right? He is an ardent follower of Christianity, right? But he critically criticizes the behavior of the church. Now here, however, the speaker's words in line 7 and 8, right? Line 7 and 8. This is line 7 and this is line 8. Line 7 and 8, right? Hush, Tom, never mind it. For when your head's bare, you know that's the suit cannot spoil your white hair. So William Blake is questioning from the religion or else the authorities of this church, all these popes and all these fathers. Is asking the question, is this the way that Jesus has asked from you to treat innocent children? Is this the way that Jesus has told in the Bible to treat innocent children, right? So this is the question, right? A very powerful question, right? So here, let's discuss it furthermore, right? So we stopped from here. However, the speaker's words in lines 7 and 8 foreshadow how religion is used later in the poem to get the boys to accept hardships and suffering. So religion did not create some kind of barrier in order to protect these innocent children. Can you understand? So religion did not act as a barrier in order to protect these innocent children, right? Instead of that, children actually faced all these problems, all these sufferings without having any barrier. That is what happens, right? So they were used to go through these hardships and suffering. The speaker might well be right. There is no use in Tom crying about his hair, but the fact that this is true shows the deep and systematic oppression that exerts pressure of the young boys, right? The pressure actually faced by the young boys is also expressed in this particular stanza, right? Tom Dacre never wanted to shave his hair, but he didn't have any alternative, right? Most of the people, most of the boys who lived in this era, they didn't have any alternative at all. They didn't have any alternative at all. They all had to go through this transformation, right? Either they had to steal. If you read all the Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, you can understand what kind of things happened to Oliver Twist, what kind of society that he was exposed to. That was real London. That was real London. So that is why, right, William Blake can be taken as a radical poet. This is real London. This is how they treated innocent children, right? They were exposed to danger. They were exposed to vulnerability. They were exposed to do a lot of unlawful jobs, right? Irresponsible jobs, right? So they had to work on them. And a lot of children, they died inside these chimneys. But nobody was there to take the responsibility. This is the reality of industrialization. No humanity, no kindness, no love, no compassion, no empathy, no sympathy, nothing at all. Nothing at all, right? So this is what you can understand, right? The hardships and sufferings of people. At the same time, the poet shows the deep and systemic oppression that exerts pressure on the young boys, right? What kind of pressure that these young boys had to undergo. In second stanza, we discussed about that. How a new recruit faced the situation, how the previous experienced chimney sweepers tried to console him, and how they saw the positive side of the negative event. What is the negative event? The negative event is actually shaving the hair. That can be taken as the negative event. And they saw the positive event of that, right? Where they said that, don't be afraid, it is much more better. They have shaved your hair. Now the suit cannot spoil your hair at least. Otherwise, because of the suit, your hair will get spoiled. Now it will never happen because they have shaved your hair. Shaving the hair is very much symbolical. It clearly shows how this innocent particular child is transformed into the vulnerable society, dangerous society, where he'll be transformed into another character, right? So from innocence to exploitation, right? Hurry up and write down. We have completed the second stanza. Now we have to discuss the third stanza. Hurry up. Right, okay, we will move on to the next slide. Now you understood about the second stanza. In a nutshell, if we discuss about the second stanza, we can discuss the new arrival of the character, Tom Dacre. This character is very important because throughout the poem, we are going to discuss about this character and what kind of transformation this particular boy is going to face because of his new profession. How the narrator tries to console this particular boy and how he shows the tragedy of these innocent chimney sweepers. What kind of transformation that they had to go through physically and mentally because of their professions. And they are the ones, the results or the productions of this industrial society, right? That is what you have to understand. So this is the reality that William Blake tries to explain. At the same time, the boy's hair was shaved, which symbolically suggesting the idea that when the boy had that white hair, it showed us his innocence. Soon after, the hair was removed. then we can understand the negative transformation. The innocent boy is being transformed into a new world, an exploitative world. That is what we have to understand. Let's go to the third stanza. And so he was quiet, and that very night. So who is he? He is Tom Dacre, right? Now we are dealing with Tom Dacre's story. Now this is important. He means Tom Dacre, right? He means Tom Dacre, right? He means Tom Dacre. Now we are going to learn about his story. Now the entire poem is actually dealing with his perspective. Now Tom Dacre, what happened to him? Now also, and so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight. So he saw a dream, such a sight, right? He saw a dream. When he was at sleep, he saw a dream, right? What was the dream? That thousands of sweepers, right? Not only Tom Dacre. See the other names given by the poet, right? This is not about a poem which discusses about Tom Dacre's tragic story. This is the reality of almost all the children who lived in the industrialization, who lived in Victorian England. This is the tragic story. This is the tragedy that we have been talking about. A set of names given, not only Tom Dacre, Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. This particular poem is also reflecting for them as well. This is the story of these innocent children. This is what happened to them, right? Not only for Tom, but also for Dick, for Joe, for Ned, and Jack. They all face the same adverse situation. They all face the same adversity. Not only Tom, they all face the same problem, same situation. They all had to undergo the same transformation. Were all of them locked up in the coffins of black. They all are locked up in coffins of black. So you know what is a coffin? Coffin means a dead body will be kept inside a coffin. So Tom Dacre saw kind of a terrible dream, kind of a nightmare, right? So he saw a lot of other sweepers. Their names are given: Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. They were locked up inside the coffin. So normally we put a dead body into a coffin and we close that coffin because we know that that particular person is not going to come out. But if you are putting a living character into a coffin, and if you are going to lock that, that will be a terrible sin. This is what we do for these innocent children. Can you understand, right? The chimney can be taken as the black dark coffin. We put innocent children to this particular coffin and ask them to clean. Is that correct? Most of these children will die because they can't breathe. Nobody will be taken any responsibility. So this is the dream that the small boy saw. Can you understand? The black coffin is that chimney where the boys go inside. Each and every place is actually sealed, just like the coffin. No way out. Black color everywhere because of the soot. They do their work really hard, really hard. Sometimes they may die. Same adversary will happen not only to Tom, but almost all the other sweepers, namely Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. They will also face the same problem. Same result will be there, right? This is the suffocative situation of the children who lived in the industrialization. This is what happened to them. This is the reality. That is why William Blake is known to be an eye-opener, right? That is why William Blake is known to be a radical poet. He showed this naked truth that we don't like to discuss. Naked truth that we don't like to discuss, right? Were all of them locked up in coffins and black. So from his dream, he saw all his friends. They all are chimney sweepers. Who are they? Dick, Joe, Ned, and Jack. The set of names are very popular names when it comes to this industrialization, right? Very popular names of the boys. These are the very popular names that they have given to boys. Jack, Ned, Joe, Dick, right? Very popular names that they have given to these boys, right? So it clearly symbolizes this is not the tragic story of Tom Dacre, but also other boys also face the same situation. Can you understand? So from this particular dream, the dream clearly foreshadows. What do you mean by foreshadows? It is actually a flash forward. You can see the future. The boy saw the future of these innocent kids. They all are going to die inside that chimney. Chimney is black color. Chimney is very similar to a coffin. They will be locked there and they will die. That is what happened. Right. Very good. Let's write this very carefully. Very important. The third stanza works as a transition between Tom's arrival into the group of chimney sweepers and Tom's dream later that night. This dream is a vision of death. Very important, my dear students. Please make sure to highlight that. A dream of death. I explained you about that. A dream of death. With Tom's unconscious mind developing an image to match the horrors of the sweep's reality. This clearly shows that Tom's unconscious mind developing an image to match the horrors of the sweeper's reality. Each and every sweeper will face the same adversary. They all will die. Each and every child will die. Right? For a long period of time, they can't do this job. They will get TB, tuberculosis, and they will die. If they fall from the chimney, chimneys are very tall. If they fall down from there, they will die. So they are going into a coffin in order to live. See the pathetic situation. Very powerful poem, right? These children are working inside the coffin. We don't even like to go inside the coffin. As a joke, even we don't like, because we get that terrible feeling, right? So we don't like that. But these boys, each and every day, they went into the coffin. They always played with death. They always played with death. The chimney is the coffin. Each and every place was sealed. No way out. One single mistake can cost a terrible death. That's what you have to understand, right? Indeed, sweeps often got suffocated by fumes or trapped in a narrow chimney flutes. So fatalities were not uncommon. Fatalities were not uncommon during that time period. Anything can happen to these children, right? Anything can happen. This is what we have to understand. Anything can happen to these children, right? Notice how additionally the rapid fire list of first names in line 11 suggests how these kinds of deaths were very commonplace in industrialized England or London. These monosyllabic names were all typical names for English boys. There could have been hundreds of Joes and Neds who died from working in the chimneys in the 70s. Can you understand? Very important, please highlight. Hundreds of Joes and Neds who died from working in the chimneys in the 70s. The list of typical names thus captures how anonymous these boys actually were, how unnoticed their deaths went. Nobody took the responsibility. Nobody took the responsibility of these deaths. Nobody took the responsibility at all. This is what you have to understand. Hurry up and write down. Please pass me a message. Right. Now we understood in the third stanza how William Blake has used a dream to explain about the future fatalities that these chimney sweepers are about to face. Right? So Tom Dacre saw a nightmare. What was the nightmare? All his friends, including Ned, Tom, and Dick, all these set of friends were actually inside a coffin, right? Inside a coffin, and the coffin was locked. So the coffin symbolically shows us the death. Coffin can be taken as a very powerful symbol. It symbolically shows us the death, because when we see a coffin, the first thing that comes to our mind is actually death. There is no doubt about that, right? I hope you can understand it. Now, then what happens? The coffin is locked. So this clearly suggests us the reality of these chimney sweepers, right? The death is on the way. They are doing a perilous job, a dangerous job. The job is not easy. Going inside the chimney and cleaning all the soot, that is not easy. Sometimes they will have problems when it comes to the breathing. Sometimes they will slip and they will fall down. So nobody is going to be responsible for them. This is the reality of these innocent children. Can you understand? So in the third stanza, the poet has explained about the reality and the terrible suffocation that these children had to face. This is actually explained to us by using a very powerful symbol. At the same time, the dream, right? The dream is the dream clearly foreshadows the reality of these children, right? So if you have finished, please pass me a message. Shall we move on to the next part? Right. So I hope that you guys have completed. Right. Then we come to stanza number 4. And by came an angel who had a bright key. And by came an angel who had a bright key. Now, an angel came to survive, right? An angel came to survive with a bright key. Because why the angel needed a key? Because they were inside the coffin. Now, the angel is coming with a key to open the coffin, right? So now we can see some kind of lightness, right? Some kind of brightness can be seen, because the dream used to be a nightmare. Now we can see some kind of light, right? Okay, and by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free, right? So the angel came and set them all free. Give these children the freedom that they needed. Give these children their world to live. Give these children their emancipation. Give these children their children's world. Children are not there to work hard for your narrow-minded objectives. Children are children. You cannot compromise that. Children are children. They are not here to work as chimney sweepers. They are here to enjoy themselves. Children are there to enjoy, right? So let them free. The freedom must be given to children. Can you understand? This is the idea of William Blake. Child exploitation is completely neglected and ill-treated by William Blake. This is how he did that. He says, open this particular coffin. Let these children free. Let them roam the way they like. Let them dance, let them play, let them do whatever things that they like to do. Give this particular freedom to children, right? Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing, they run. Now we are coming to the children's world, right? Don't forget, this poem is written under the theme of songs of innocence. Now we can understand children are not exploited by anything at all. So you have to read that from that mindset, right? First and foremost, you have to think like a child who is not exploited by any political, social, cultural changes. You are not exploited. You are not exposed to the world. This is their world, right? They used to laugh. They used to run. They used to leap. They used to walk down the green plain and wash in a river and shine in the sun. The two lines are very powerful. This is the world that they belong to. The sun reflects light. This is the world that they belong to. They should not work as chimney sweepers inside these dark chimneys. That is not their world. You are taking the maximum advantage from these children. That is not nice, right? So the Tom Dacre saw in his dream, an angel came and opened the coffins. Then they all were free. They danced, they leaped, they walked, they played on the green. They had a bath, right? They washed themselves with all these soot will be washed away, right? So give the children their childhood. That is what William Blake tries to explain. Children deserve to have their childhood. Nowadays, most of these parents are also doing the same thing by taking them to scholarship classes. Grade 4, grade 5 students. Parents were dragging them to the tuition class. Give the children their childhood. Children need their childhood. Right? That is what the poet says. See the last line, and wash in a river and shine in the sun. Children should not be colored with soot and darkness. They are gems. They should shine. They should shine in the sun. They are gems, right? Children are known to be gems. But during the Victorian era, children were taken as a burden, not as an asset. Nowadays, we have children's rights, this right, that right, Children's Day. We have a lot. We have given, I think we have given too much. The place that we have given to children in today's world is too much. We have given too much. That is why those children, they got together and killed a man using their helmets, right? Because we have given that freedom too much nowadays. Nowadays, we have given that too much, right? During that time period, children were taken as a burden. So in the stanza number 4, we can understand what kind of freedom is actually expressed by Tom Dacre by referring to his dream. So William Blake discusses about the freedom, that emancipation, that happiness, that delight that they deserve. But none of these children enjoyed that during the Victorian society. They were not lucky enough to enjoy the freedom, enjoy the emancipation. They suffocated from hunger, right? They didn't have any parents. They were orphans, right? They were given small amount of food and a lot of work was taken from them. Most of them died. They lived inside a coffin. That was the reality. So this dream clearly shows us what kind of life, what kind of hope that they have at the end of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, William Blake saw a bright light. That is the angel. The angel came to open the coffin. That symbolically suggests that one day, it can be Jesus, it can be God, can come and take them through the heaven. They don't belong to them. They don't belong to this society. Children are innocent set of individuals. They need their freedom. We have to give their freedom because childhood will never return back. Childhood will never return back. If you do not enjoy your childhood as a child, you will regret because childhood will never return. That is important. Let's go to the explanation. The fourth stanza expands on Tom Dacre's dream, which was begun in lines 11 and 12. This dream offers a vision of freedom that contrasts with oppressively reality faced by the chimney sweepers. An angel sent by God arrives to open the sweeps' coffins and sets them free. This imagery suggests that religion offers salvation from real life. Don't forget, William Blake is known to be a radical poet, eye-opener. At the same time, William Blake is known to be an ardent Catholic follower. So this Christian flavor can be seen in almost all the poems, right? So he suggests the idea that an angel sent by God arrives to open the sweep's coffins and set them free. This imagery suggests that religion offers salvation from real life. It's worth remembering that this poem appears in Blake's book, Songs of Innocence, not Songs of Experience. I hope you can understand that. This means that while the poem is spoken by an innocent speaker, it doesn't necessarily have to be interpreted innocently by readers who have more life experience. In other words, readers don't have to take the poem at face value. So you have to take this poem into consideration as an innocent, as a person who is not influenced or else covered by the social values. You have to be unbiased person to understand the reality of this poem. This is what you have to understand. Hurry up and write down. Please pass me a message. Right. So I hope that you have completed that part. So we will move on to the next part of the stanza 4. Accordingly, Dacre's dream is distinctly pastoral. This pastoral setting is something very much common when it comes to these romantic poets. They discussed about the pastoral means the rural setting of a village. That is what we call pastoral setting. So this is something very common. If you refer to William Wordsworth, most of the poems written by William Wordsworth, who represents the first generation of romantic poets, he wrote about the pastoral setting, right? The beauty of the village and the beauty of these flora and fauna and the culture and the cultivation and all these beautiful girls and everything related to these villages. He wrote about these things, the pastoral setting. That is something very common, right? So William Blake is also a romantic poet. Don't forget that. As I told you, he wrote about all these beauty of nature, the grandeur of nature is taken into consideration by him, right? Accordingly, Thackeray's dream is distinctly pastoral, right? This is the place where the children should live. Children should not live in a kind of an industrialized society where a lot of unemployment, a lot of rampant violence, and a lot of exploitation occurs, right? So children should live in a pastoral setting, in a rural setting, in a rural environment. This is what we have to understand, right? It presents an idyllic natural scene, a green plain, rivers and sunshine. So no suit, no black color, no exploitation, no one to control them. They got their freedom. It's all about freedom. So William Blake is asking the question from the audience, do you want them to be free? So it is your responsibility. Stop this. They are cleaning your chimneys. So if you stop that, definitely they will be survived, right? Which contrasts with the black sooty environment that chimney sweeps have to put up with. This is important, right? Where we have contrast. How contrast is actually made. This green plain, rivers, sunshine, they contrast with the present experiences that these chimney sweepers are following. Black color, sooty environment. They should not live in a black color, sooty environment. They should live in green plain, rivers and sunshine. Those are the places that they should live. Can you understand? So this is the idea that we all have to pay our attention. So the poet says, the children deserve something more than this. This is a vision of purity and joy, but still an earthly one. But still an earthly one, right? Still an earthly one. Although this vision features an angel and eventually depicts an ascent into a heaven, at this point, it still represents something could be become a reality on earth without God's intervention. So a God should not come to this world to open the coffin. Each and everyone in the society can become a God. If they say no to chimney sweepers, these children will be survived. Can you understand? A God should not come to this world and save them. That will never happen, right? So that is why the poet says this is an earthly one. So each and every individual can become a God and they can reject these chimney sweepers. They are small children. I don't need their help, right? I don't need their help. They are small children and they are vulnerable, right? So they will face number of fatalities. So I don't need their help. If you tell like that, they will not clean your chimneys. So William Blake is pointing the finger towards the society. Pointing the finger towards the society, right? Make sure to protect children because the child is the father of man, right? So that is important. Okay. So we are going to wind up the session from there. So next week we are going to continue from chapter number 4, chapter number 5 actually. We have only two stanzas to discuss. I'm sorry. Stanza number 5 and 6, 2 stanzas to discuss. I have sent you the recording of the Chimney Sweepers part 2. This is part 3. And we will meet with part 4 next week. Right? Okay. So thank you so much. You can leave the meeting.